Today, I will be ranking every Red Dead Redemption 2 chapter. Red Dead Redemption 2 is my favorite game of all time, so it's hard to rank.
Number 8 is Epilogue Part 1. Epilogue Part 1 is not that good. Epilogue Part 1 is about John Marston and his family quitting being a criminal in the Van der Linde gang after Arthur's death and joining and taking care of a ranch with Abigail and Jack. I don't like it because you just do a lot of ranching missions as John Marston and they are pretty boring. Also, I was expecting a lot more because this is right after the best. My favorite mission was Jim Milton Rides Again because you can have a pretty fun gunfight.
Number 7. Chapter 1 Coulter. Coulter is the first chapter of the game and it has to introduce you to the game and that takes back replay value. Chapter 1 Coulter is about the Van der Linde gang are escaping the law after the Blackwater massacre and they have to move into the snowy mountains to hide from law and the Pinkertons. But the snowy aspect gets old after a few missions. Also, you can not explore the open world. Favorite mission? Who the hell is Leviticus Cornwall? In this mission you rob a bank with Dutch, but the train you rob is owned by a bad man by the name Leviticus Cornwall who does not like that.
What happened?
Number 6. Chapter 5 Guarma. Guarma is a great chapter for the last missions, but the Guarma missions are not the good. This chapter is about Arthur Morgan, Micah Bell, Dutch, Javier, Bill getting stuck on the island named of Guarma. When they get there they get kidnapped. Then the villain of the Guarma is Alberto Fuso. Those missions were fun but a little boring. Then the gang gets on a boat back to St. Denis. Then when Arthur gets back to camp, Agent Milton, who is the head of the Pinkertons, attacks the gang, so then the gang has to find a new camp. My favorite mission was Fleeting Joe because it had Agent Milton, a fun gunfight, and fun. Number 5. Epilogue Part 2. Epilogue Part 2 is about John Marston fixing up his life buying a ranch with Uncle and Charles so John and his family can have a good life. Also, John has to make money by doing a lot of bounty missions that are not that fun. Then when John's family move in you have to do boring missions. Then the last mission is super good because Sadie and Charles go up in the mountains and hunt down Micah because he killed Arthur in Chapter 6. When they get to Micah they see Dutch, but Dutch is the one to kill Micah, then the game ends. American Venom was my favorite mission. Number 4. Chapter 3. Clemens Point. Chapter 3 is about the Van der Linde gang trying to between two families that hate each other, but then they failed and the family stole the child in their gang, Jack Marston. There are few really good missions like when you burn the cornfields with John, or when you rob a bank in Valentine, or when you work with the Rhodes cops, or when you get kidnapped by the rival gang, the O'Driscolls. Then Sean dies in the next missions. Then the Van der Linde tries to get him back by destroying a family in one of the best missions ever made. There are some boring missions in this chapter, but there are not so many. Chapter 3 is a super good chapter, some boring missions but some of the best missions of the game. My favorite missions was Blood Feuds Ancient and Modern. Number 3. Chapter 2. Horseshoe Overlook. Chapter 2 is about the Van der Linde gang doing jobs around their area. For example, some of the missions are going to the bar with Lenny, breaking Micah out of jail, robbing a train, getting in fights at the saloon, saving Sean from the law near Blackwater, collecting money from people who borrowed money from us, and herding cows. An important thing that happened was when Arthur was fishing with Jack, then Agent Milton comes to confront Arthur about the bounty on all of their heads. My favorite missions from this chapter are A Quiet Time, Blessed Are the Meek, Pouring Forth Oil, Paying a Social Call.
Number 2. Chapter 4 St. Denis. Chapter 4 is about the Van der Linde gang moving next to a big city and they get Jack Marston back from Angelo Bronte, the villain of this chapter. Then Angelo Bronte tells the Van der Linde gang then there will be a lot of money in the city they can rob. But Eliza and Dara's little one boss seems to want to go against him and Dutch Van der Linde behind it, so he kidnaps Angelo Bronte and gives the alligator in. Then Dutch and Isaiah want to rob it. But Agent Milton was a step ahead when they tried to rob it. Agent Milton, head of the Pinkerton detective agency, he kills Hosea. And then Lenny dies. And then the gang escapes on a boat, but it goes to Guarma. Chapter 4 is almost my favorite chapter because I love St. Denis, because I love having a big city in a western. My favorite missions in this chapter were A Fine Night of Debauchery. This mission is you going on a cruise and cheating poker.
Number 1 Chapter 6. Beaver Hollow. Chapter 6 is the best chapter in the game. Chapter 6 is about the decline of the Van der Linde gang. Dutch is going crazy because of Micah, Hosea's death. Also, the main character of the game, Arthur Morgan, realizes he has tuberculosis and will die, so he needs to fix all of the wrongs he has done in the past. Also, Arthur wants to get John Marston out of the gang because he has a family. And also, the Van der Linde is taking advantage of the Wapiti tribe with eagle flies. But Arthur helps his father. By the end of the chapter, Eagle Flies dies because of the Van der Linde gang. Then the last mission of the game happens, where Arthur sacrifices his life to save John Marston and his family.